Hi guys, let's do the 38th prelims test series of for UPSC exam 2020 from Vision IAS. So this is the 38th prelims test. Now let's come to the first topic. The first question, that is question number 1. Consider the following statements with reference to the Arogya Sanjeevani policy. Number 1. It is a standard health insurance policy available across all insurance players. Number 2. It has a provision of lifelong renewability with no exit age. Number 3. The premium is fixed by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India IRDAI. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer is A, that is 1 and 2 only. So in order to make buying of health insurance policies simpler, in January 2020, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India IRDAI has made it mandatory for all standalone health insurance companies and general insurance companies to offer a standard health product to the policyholders. Such a standard health policy is to be called Arogya Sanjeevani policy. Hence, statement 1 is correct. As the features of Arogya Sanjeevani policy are going to be largely similar, buyers will stand to benefit by avoiding making a comparison on health insurance plans. The choice will largely depend on the premium and the level of comfort that the buyer has regarding the insurance company. IRDAI has fixed the minimum entry age as 18 and maximum age 65 years. The policy has no exit age and has provision for lifelong renewability. This means if a person joins the scheme at the age of 65, he or she can use the policy till his death, provided renewals are done every year. Hence, statement 2 is correct. This policy mandates to offer a standardized product that covers basic hospitalization needs of customers with a minimum sum insured of rupees 1 lakh and a maximum of rupees 5 lakh with a co-pay of 5% and room rent limit up to 2% of the sum insured or rupees 5,000, whichever is lower. Some of the important features of the standard health insurance policy will be: number 1, the minimum and maximum sum insured will be rupees 1 lakh and rupees 5 lakh respectively. Number 2, Arogya Sanjeevani policy will be available on both individual lives and on a family floater basis. Number 3, Arogya Sanjeevani policy will be an annually renewable policy with a grace period of 30 days. Number 4, each Arogya Sanjeevani policy of the insurer will have some basic mandatory covers which shall be uniform across the market. The premium, however, may be set by the insurers on their own. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Now let's come to the second question. That is, consider the following questions. 1. Okay, consider the following statements. 1. Only one side of the moon is visible from Earth, as moon is tidally locked to Earth. 2. Chandrayaan-2 is the first mission in the world to attempt a landing on the far side of the moon. Number 3. The far side of the moon always remains dark as the sunlight does not reach it. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer would be B. That is one only. So the tidal locking is the phenomenon Tidal locking is the phenomenon by which a body has the same rotational period as its orbital period around a partner. The moon keeps the same phase pointing towards the earth because its rate of spin is tidally locked so that it is synchronized with its rate of revolution, the time needed to complete one orbit. In other words, the moon rotates exactly once every time it circles the earth. That is why we only see one side of the moon. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Now let's come to statement 2. Chandrayaan-2 mission brought together an orbiter, lander and rover with the goal of exploring south pole of the moon. This is a unique mission which aims at studying not just one area of the moon but all the areas combining the exosphere, the surface as well as the subsurface of the moon in a single mission. Chandrayaan-2's target site was by far the southernmost ever on the far side, selected for a soft lunar landing. However, it is not the first attempt. China's Chang'e 4 achieved humanity's first soft landing on the far side of the moon on 3rd January 2019. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. The dark side of the moon refers to the hemisphere of the moon that is facing away from the earth. In reality, it is no darker than any other part of the moon's surface, as sunlight does in fact fall equally on all sides of the moon. It is only dark to us, as that hemisphere can never be viewed from Earth due to a phenomenon known as tidal locking. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Now let's come to question number 3. They are the largest ethnic group in the Chittagong Hill Tracts region in southeastern Bangladesh and the second largest ethnic group in Mizoram, India. Most of the people of this tribe are adherents of Theravada Buddhism. The most important festivals celebrated by them are Biju, Alfaloni, Buddha Purnima, and Kathin Jevardhan. Which of the following tribes is best described by the above passage? So we have to choose among this. Number A, Chakma, B, Hajong, C, Gaddi, D, Tangkhul. So the answer would be A, Chakma. The Chakma people are the largest ethnic group in the Chittagong Hill Tracts region in southeastern Bangladesh and in Mizoram, India. Chakma Autonomous District Council is also there. They are the second largest ethnic group with around 50,000 Chakmas in Andhra Pradesh, India. The Buddhist Chakmas and Hindu Hajongs were displaced from the Chittagong Hill Tracts of erstwhile East Pakistan, present-day Bangladesh, by a hydroelectric project. They were mostly settled in Changlang district in the 1960s. Most Chakma people are adherents of Theravada Buddhism. The most important festivals celebrated by the Chakmas are Viju, Alphaloni, Buddha Purnima, and Kathinchivardhan. Jagmas celebrate various Buddhist festivals. The most important is Buddha Purnima, or internationally known as Vesak. It's also known as Buddha birthday worldwide. This is the anniversary of three important events in Buddha's life. Number one, his birth. Number two, his attainment of enlightenment. And three, his death. It is observed on the full moon day of the month of Vesak, usually in May. Now let's come to question number 4. Sankalp scheme, an initiative of the Government of India, is related to number A. Eradication of the practice of manual scavenging and rehabilitation of the manual scavengers. B. Infusing quality in skill development program and making them market relevant and accessible. Number C. Providing pension to the unorganized sector workers as well as old age groups. Number D. Rehabilitation of the homeless and destitute persons and provide them with suitable sources of livelihood. So the answer is B. To strengthen institutional mechanisms for skill development and increase access to quality and market relevant training for youth across the country, Sankalp was launched. Sankalp aims to address the ongoing challenges like bringing about convergence, infusing quality in skill development programs, and making them market relevant and accessible while ensuring private participation in the context of short term training. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Sankalp has four key result areas. They are: the first one is institutional strengthening at center, state, and district level. Number two is quality assurance of skill development programs. Number three, inclusion of marginalized population in skill development programs. And number four, expanding skills through PPPs. Sankalp is funded through three major parts: World Bank's loan, states contribution, industry contribution. Now let's come to question number 5. Consider the following statements with respect to the South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Corporation, SASEC, SASEC. Number 1. It was set up in 2016 to bring together all neighboring countries of India to promote regional prosperity by improving cross-border connectivity. Number 2. Asian Development Bank serves as the Secretariat for SASEC. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer would be B, that is 2 only. The South Asia Sub-Regional Economic Corporation, SASEC, set up in 2001, brings together Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, which is not a neighboring country, Myanmar, Nepal, and Sri Lanka in a project-based partnership that aims to promote regional prosperity, improve economic opportunities, and build a better quality of life for the people of the sub-region. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. SASEC countries share a common vision of boosting intra-regional trade and cooperation in South Asia, while also developing connectivity and trade with Southeast Asia through Myanmar to the People's Republic of China and the global market. CISAC members gather regularly to discuss and address shared interest, creating support and ownership for the program at the policy level as well as practical collaboration at the technical working level. Over a decade of successful cooperation has built confidence and mutual trust through various discussion platforms that decide on coordinated actions for the benefit of all. In 2016, the CISAC countries approved the CISAC Operational Plan 2016 to 2025, a 10-year strategic roadmap which introduced economic corridor development as a fourth sectoral area of focus to promote synergies and linkages between economic corridors across CISAC countries. ADB serves as the CISAC Secretariat. As of September 2019, CISAC countries have implemented 55 regional projects worth over 12.5 billion US dollar in the energy, economic corridor development, transport, trade facilitation, and information and communication technology sectors. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Now let's come to question number 6. The terms Khud Kashta and Pahi Kashta during medieval Indian history refer to A. Officials dealing with tax collections, B. Types of groundwater wells, C. A creditor and a debtor, D. Two kinds of peasants. So the answer would be D. That is two kinds of peasants. Sources of the 17th century refer to two kinds of peasants, Khud Kashta and Pahi Kashta. The former were residents, that is, the Khud Kashta were residents of the village in which they held their land, and Pahi Kasta were non-resident cultivators who belonged to some other village but cultivated lands elsewhere on a contractual basis. People became Pahi Kasta either out of choice, for example, when terms of revenue in a distant village were more favorable, or out of compulsion, for example, forced by economic distress after a famine. Hence, option D, that is, two kinds of peasants, is the correct answer. Now, let's come to question number 7. So, question number 7. Consider the following scenarios. Statement 1. A citizen approached Supreme Court to direct central government for effective implementation of the National Food Security Act in drought-affected regions. Number 2. A writ petition is filed in Supreme Court challenging the appointment of a person as the chairperson of National Commission for Minorities. Number 3. A person approached High Court to prevent a tribunal from proceeding in a matter which is outside the jurisdiction of the tribunal. So, which of the following writs are likely to be issued in the above three cases? Number A. Mandamus, Certiorari, and Prohibition, respectively. Number B. Quo warranto, Certiorari, and Prohibition, respectively. Number C. Mandamus, Quo warranto, and Prohibition, respectively. Number D. certiorari, mandamus, and quo warranto, respectively. So for number 7, so for question number 7, the answer would be C. So the first one is mandamus, quo warranto, and prohibition, respectively. So the answer would be C. The fundamental rights operate as limitations on the tyranny of the executive and arbitrary laws of the legislature. They are justiciable in nature. That is, they are enforceable by the courts for their violation. The aggrieved person can directly go to the Supreme Court, Article 32, or High Court, Article 226, which can issue the writs of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto for the restoration of his rights. Habeas corpus. The writ of habeas corpus and effective bulwark of personal liberty is a remedy available to a person who is confined without legal justification. The words habeas corpus literally mean to have the body. Mandamus. The word mandamus literally means we command. The writ of mandamus is a command issued to direct any person, corporation, inferior court, or government requiring him or it to do a particular thing specified therein which pertains to his or its office and is further in the nature of a public duty. Implementation of National Food Security Act is the duty of the government. Hence, in the first case, the writ is mandamus is likely to be issued. Now let's come to prohibition. A writ of prohibition is issued to an inferior court, preventing the latter from usurping jurisdiction which is not legally vested in it. When a tribunal acts without or in excess of jurisdiction or in violation of rules or law, a writ of prohibition can be asked for. It is generally issued before the trial of the case. In the third case, applicant tries to prevent the proceedings of the lower court. Hence, the writ of prohibition is likely to be issued. So for the third case, it would be prohibition. Now let's come to certiorari. It is available to any person wherever any body of persons having legal authority to determine questions affecting the rights of subjects and having the duty to act judicially, act in excess of their legal authority. Although the object of both the writs of prohibition and of certiorari is the same, prohibition is available at an earlier stage whereas certiorari is available at a later stage, but in similar grounds, that is, certiorari is issued after authority has exercised its powers. Now let's come to quo warranto. The writ of quo warranto enables enquiry into the legality of the claim which a person asserts to an office or franchise and to oust him from such position if he is an usurper. It is issued when, number 1, the office is of public and of a substantive nature. Number 2, created by statute or by the Constitution itself. And number 3, the respondent has asserted his claim to the office. It can be issued even though he has not assumed the charge of the office. So in the second case, a writ of quo warranto is likely to be issued. Hence, option C is the correct answer. So the first one is mandamus, the second statement is quo warranto, and the third is prohibition. So the answer is C. Now let's come to question number 8. Condition. Consider the following statements. Number 1. During the summer solstice, all latitudes in northern hemisphere experience nearly the same length of the day. Number 2. During the equinox, all latitudes experience nearly the same length of day and night. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer would be B. That is 2 only. Summer solstice is the longest day of the year. So it is 2 only. So summer solstice is the longest day of the year for the hemisphere in which it occurs when the poles directly face the sun. Across the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice occurs on June 21st. However, the length of daylight on this day varies with latitude. This day will be longer for higher latitudes and shorter for lower latitudes. The longest daylight on the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere is experienced above the Arctic Circle, hence statement 1 is not correct. Equinox. Equinox occurs when the center of the visible sun is directly above the equator. This occurs twice each year around 20 March and 23rd September. On the day of an equinox, daytime and nighttime are of approximately equal duration all over the planet. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Now let's come to question number 9. So we have question number 9. Which of the following is or are correct with reference to the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund scheme recently approved by the government? Number 1. It aims to provide a debt financing facility for investment in post-harvest management infrastructure and immunity farming assets and community farming assets. Number 2, it provides for interest subvention of 3% per annum to loans provided under the scheme. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the answer is C. That is both 1 and 2. The Union Cabinet recently gave its approval to a new pan-India central sector scheme, Agriculture Infrastructure Fund. The scheme shall provide a medium long-term debt financing facility for investment in viable projects for both harvest management infrastructure and community farming assets through interest subvention and financial support. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Under this scheme, rupees 1 lakh crore will be provided by banks and financial institutions as loans to primary agricultural credit societies (PACS), marketing cooperative societies, farmer producers organizations (FPOs), self-help groups (SHG), farmers joint liability groups (JLG), multi-purpose cooperative societies, agri-entrepreneurs, startups, aggregation infrastructure, providers, and central or state agency for local body sponsored public-private partnership project. All loans under this financing facility will have interest subvention of 3% per annum up to a limit of rupees 2 crore. Hence statement 2 is correct. This subvention will be available for a maximum period of 7 years. Further, credit guarantee coverage will be available for eligible borrowers from this financing facility under Credit Guarantee Fund Trust. For Micro and Small Enterprises (CGTMSE) scheme for a loan of up to rupees 2 crore. The fee for this coverage will be paid by the government. In case of FPOs, the credit guarantee may be availed from the facility created under FPO Promotion Scheme of Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare (DACFW). Moratorium for repayment under this financing facility may vary subject to minimum of 6 months and maximum of 2 years. The project, by way of facilitating formal credit to farm and farm processing based activities, is expected to create numerous job opportunities in rural areas. Agri-Infra Fund will be managed and monitored through an online management information system (MIS) platform. It will enable all the qualified entities to apply for loan under the fund. The online platform will also provide benefits such as transparency of interest rates offered by multiple banks, scheme details including interest subvention and credit guarantee offered, minimum documentation, faster approval process, as also integration with other scheme benefits. Now let's do question number 10. Consider the following statements on Global Alliance on Climate Smart Agriculture (GACSA). Number 1. It is an initiative of Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO). Number 2. It aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with agriculture. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer would be C. That is both 1 and 2. Okay. So the concept of climate Smart Agriculture (CSA) was originally developed by Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) and officially presented at the Hague Conference in Agriculture, Food Security and Climate Change in 2010. CSA, that is Climate Smart Agriculture, is an approach to developing the technical, policy and investment conditions to achieve sustainable agricultural development for food security under climate change. The magnitude, immediacy, and broad scope of the effects of climate change on agricultural systems create a compelling need to ensure comprehensive integration of these effects into national agricultural planning, investments and programs. The Global Alliance for Climate Smart Agriculture GACSA and Initiative of Food and Agriculture Organization FAO is a voluntary alliance of partners dedicated to addressing the challenges facing food security and agriculture by tapping the wealth and diversity of resources, knowledge, information, and expertise from and between its members in order to stimulate concrete initiatives at all levels. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The alliance is open to membership from all sectors, including governments, intergovernmental organizations, farmer organizations, NGOs, civil society groups, research institutes, and private sector. Whose objectives and activities are consistent with the vision and mission of GACSA and who fulfill the criteria for membership. Individuals cannot become members of GACSA. GACSA works towards three aspirational outcomes. The first one is to improve farmers' agricultural productivity and incomes in a sustainable way. Number two, build farmers' resilience to extreme weather and changing climate. Number three, reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with agriculture when possible. Hence, statement 2 is correct. So, statement 2 is also correct. GACSA is supported by a facilitation unit hosted by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations FAO and financed through contributions made by donors into a multi-donor trust fund. The facilitation unit provides support to GACSA members to undertake their implementation activities as well and providing key services such as communication, information, and knowledge management and exchange processes. The Government of India, Government of Maharashtra, and the World Bank recently signed a 420 million US dollar project to help small and marginal farmers in the Marathwada and Vidarbha region of Maharashtra increase climate resilient practices in agriculture and ensure that farming continues to remain a financially viable activity for them. The Maharashtra project for climate resilient agriculture will be implemented in rural areas largely dependent upon rain fed agriculture. The project will take up a series of activities at the farm and watershed level. It will scale up climate resilient technologies such as micro irrigation systems, expand surface water storage, and facilitate aquifer recharge, which is expected to directly contribute to more efficient use of scarce water resources. By adopting climate resilient seed varieties which have short maturity, are drought and heat resistant and salt tolerant, the project will help reduce risk of climate related crop failure and help enhance farmers' income. Now let's come to the 11th question. The reference to North With reference to Northeastern Council, consider the following statements. Number 1. It works under the chairmanship of Union Home Minister. Number 2. It is mandated to function as a regional planning body for the Northeastern region. Number 3. The governors and chief ministers of northeastern states are members of the council. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the correct answer would be D. That is 1, 2, and 3 are correct. Okay, so the Northeastern Council (NEC) is not a constitutional body but a statutory organization established under the Northeastern Council Act 1971 as amended in 2002. It is the nodal agency for economic and social development of 8th Northeastern Region states of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, and Tripura. The organizational structure: ex officio chairman, Union Home Minister, hence statement 1 is correct. Vice chairman, Minister of State, independent charge, DONER. DONER members: governors and chief ministers of all the 8 states and 3 members nominated by president. Hence statement 3 is correct. Initially, NEC was an advisory body for Northeastern Region, that is NER. Now, NEC is mandated to function as a regional planning body for the Northeastern Region. Hence, statement 2 is correct. While formulating the regional plans for the Northeastern Region, it is mandated to give priority to schemes and projects benefiting 2 or more states, provided that in case of Sikkim, the Council shall formulate specific projects and schemes for that state, including the review of implementation of such projects and schemes. Now let's come to question number 12. So, question number 12. Which of the following statements in the context of the District Mineral Foundation (DMF) is or are correct? Number 1. It was made mandatory through the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Act 2015. Number 2. It is to be set up in all those districts which are affected by the mining works both directly or indirectly. Number 3. DMF funds are lapsable funds. Number 4. DMF funds are funded through the contribution of miners and governments on a sharing basis. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So, for question number 12, the answer is D. So, it is D. 1 and 2 only. Okay. So, District Mineral Foundation (DMF). It is a trust set up as a non-profit body by state governments in those districts affected by the mining works to work for the interest and benefit of persons and areas affected by mining-related operations. Directly affected areas where direct mining-related operations such as excavation, mining, etc. are located. Indirectly affected areas such as those areas where local population is adversely affected on account of economic, social, and environmental consequences due to mining-related operations. Hence, statement 2 is correct. It was mandated through the Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Amendment Act (MMDR) 2015. Hence, statement 1 is correct. It is funded through the contributions from miners, not from government. Hence, statement 4 is not correct. DMF funds are non-lapsable funds and can be used for both immediate and long-term investments. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. They are treated as extra budgetary resources for the state plan. District Mineral Foundation (DMF) Implementation Status and Emerging Best Practices document was released by Center for Science and Environment (CSE), a Delhi-based think tank recently. Okay, so now let's come to question number 13. With reference to the Battle of Plassey, consider the following statements. Number 1. Robert Clive led the company's army against Siraj-ud-Dowlah at the Battle of Plassey. Number 2. Mir Jafar was the commander-in-chief of the Siraj-ud-Dowlah's army. Number 3. After the battle, Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal. Which of these statements given above is or are correct? So the answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3 are correct. When Alivardi Khan died in 1756, Siraj-ud-Dowlah became the Nawab of Bengal. The company was worried about his power and keen on a puppet ruler who would willingly give trade concessions and other privileges. So it tried, but without success, to help one of Siraj-ud-Dowlah's rival become the Nawab. And infuriated Siraj-ud-Dowlah asked the company to stop meddling in the political affairs of his dominion, stop fortification and pay the revenues. After negotiations failed, the Nawab marched with 30,000 soldiers to the English factory at Qasim Bazar, captured the company officials, locked the warehouse, disarmed all Englishmen, and blockaded English ships. Then he marched to Calcutta to establish control over the company's fort there. On hearing the news of the fall of Calcutta, company officials in Madras sent forces under the command of Robert Clive, reinforced by naval fleets. Prolonged negotiations with the Nawab followed. Finally, in 1757, Robert Clive led the company's army against Siraj-ud-Dowlah at Plassey. Hence, statement 1 is correct. One of the main reasons for the defeat of the Nawab was that the forces led by Mir Jafar, one of the Siraj-ud-Dowlah's commander, never fought the battle. Clive had managed to secure his support by promising to make him Nawab after crushing Siraj-ud-Dowlah. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The Battle of Plassey became famous because it was the first major victory the company won in India. After the defeat at Plassey, Siraj-ud-Dowlah was assassinated and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal. The company was still unwilling to take over the responsibility of administration. Its prime objective was the expansion of trade. If this could be done without conquest, through the help of local rulers who were willing to grant privileges, then territories need not be taken over directly. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to question number 14. In the context of bamboo plants, which of the following correctly describes the phenomenon of gregarious flowering? Number A. Flowering induced by environmental factors such as drought or cold instead of genetics. Number B. All plants of a particular species flower at the same time, regardless of differences in geographic locations. Number C. The continuous growth of offspring while being attached to the maternal parent. Number D. Periodic flowering which rarely produces viable seeds. So the correct answer is B. That is, all plants of a particular species flower at the same time regardless of differences in geographic location. There exist 3 types of flowering in bamboo which largely depend on species and circumstances. So the first type of flowering would be continuous flowering. Some bamboo species keep flowering year after year without any effect on the plant itself, although the produced seeds are rarely viable. Continuous flowering may also occur in different individual plants of a forest over different periods of time, with not more than 1 or 2 month intervals. Now, the next type of flowering in bamboo would be sporadic flowering. In sporadic flowering, there is very little pattern in this type of flowering, and it may be induced by environmental factors such as drought or cold instead of genetics. Many species of bamboo may flourish both gregariously and sporadically. When sporadic flowering occurs on individual culms, the plants very rarely die, but most of the seeds are not viable either. Now let's come to the third type of flowering, that is gregarious flowering. Many woody bamboo species are subject to gregarious flowering, which means that all plants of a particular species flower at the same time, regardless of differences in geographic locations or climate conditions, and then die a few years later. In other words, when a certain bamboo species starts to flower gregariously, they do this all over the world for a several year period until the entire forest has died. Intervals in the gregarious flowering cycle varies depending on the species, but in general bamboo flowering intervals can be as long as 20 to 120 years. It isn't triggered by environmental aspects, which hints towards some sort of genetic alarm clock in each bamboo cell that signals the diversion of all energy to flower production and the cessation of vegetative growth. Now let's come to viviparous flowering. Observed in certain mangrove species, it occurs when cysts or embryos begin to develop before they detach from the parent. It is observed in certain mangrove species. Now let's come to question number 15. Consider the following statements with reference to gold exchange traded fund ETFs. Statement number 1. These are funds that invest in gold and can be bought and sold on the exchange. Number 2. Gold ETFs are linked to the fluctuating gold prices. Number 3. These are exempted from the security transaction tax. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer would be D. That is, okay. So the answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3. The gold ETF is an exchange traded fund ETF, can be bought and sold on stock exchanges, thus saving you the trouble of keeping physical gold. Gold ETFs are essentially open-ended mutual fund schemes which are based on even fluctuating gold prices. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Unlike with jewelry, coins, and bars, which come with high initial buying and selling charges, the gold ETF cost much lower. Transparency in pricing is another advantage. The price at which it is bought is probably the closest to the actual price of gold, and therefore the benchmark is the physical gold price. Hence, statement 2 is correct. As compared to physical gold, which is idle wealth, gold ETF is a form of investment that provides returns and can be used to meet short-term as well as long-term financial goals. Gold ETFs come with no risk and are not required to be stored. Gold ETFs are treated as non-equity investments and taxed accordingly. Short-term capital gains on the units held for less than 36 months will be added to investors' income and taxed as per the applicable slab rate. Long-term capital gains on units held for more than 26 months will be taxed at 20% after providing for indexation. Gold ETFs do not incur exit loan, entry loan, wealth tax, security transaction tax, or VAT, or sales tax. Hence, statement 3 is correct. Now let's come to question number 16. Which of the following is or are the suitable conditions for collision, coalescence form of precipitation? Number 1, warm clouds. Number 2, temperate climate. Number 3, variety of different size condensation nuclei. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So the 16 answer would be C. That is 1 and 3 only. Precipitation refers to material falling out of suspension. Precipitation from a meteorological standpoint is water in some form falling out of the air and settling on the surface of the earth. Rain, snow, hail, sleet, freezing rain are all forms of precipitation. Dew is condensation at the surface and thus is not a form of precipitation. There are two models of precipitation formation, that is collision or coalescence and ice crystal models. Now let's come to the first model, that is collision coalescence model. It applies to warm clouds that form in the tropics. Hence, option 1 is correct. Warm clouds are those that form at altitudes where the air temperature is above freezing. Hence, option 2 is not correct. For precipitation to form under this model, there needs to be a variety of different size condensation nuclei. Hence, option 3 is correct. Large condensation nuclei will create large water droplets, while smaller condensation nuclei create small ones. In order for the droplets to make their way to the surface, they have to be heavy enough to overcome the resistance imposed by upwardly rising air that is fueling the development of the cloud. These smaller, lighter droplets are easily suspended in the updrafts of air, while the larger, heavy collector droplets fall and collide with the smaller ones. Upon collision, the droplets coalesce into a bigger droplet. As the droplet falls, resistance by the air flattens the droplet to the point where it becomes unstable and breaks apart. With enough collisions, the droplets achieves a size sufficient to fall all the way to the surface. Now let's come to the next model, that is ice crystal model. It is the process of precipitation formation in the middle and high latitudes. Clouds form at altitudes where the temperatures are below the freezing point of water. Water exists in its liquid form even though the temperatures are cold enough to freeze water. Water that has a temperature below freezing but is still in a liquid state is called supercooled water. Water in extremely small amounts, such as cloud droplets, can't exist in such a state. Ice crystals are found coexisting with the supercooled water in cold clouds. When this occurs, the ice crystals will grow at the expense of the water droplets. Water can evaporate off the droplet and deposit on the ice in response to the water vapor gradient. The droplet will dissipate in size while the ice crystal grows into a snowflake. Once the snowflake is large enough, it will fall to the surface, thus precipitation that falls in the middle and high latitudes starts out as snow. Whether it hits the surface as snow or rain depends on the temperature conditions through which the snowflake falls. Now let's come to question number 17. Now let's come to question number 17. Which of the following factors can lead to a decline in the number of pollinators? Number 1, genetically modified crops. Number 2, monocropping. Number 3, zero tillage. Select the correct answer using the code given below. So, for question number 17, the answer is A, that is 1 and 2 only. 1 and 2 only. 1 and 2, that is genetically modified crops and monocropping. So, pollination is the transfer of pollen from a male part of a plant to a female part of a plant, later enabling fertilization and the production of seeds, most often by an animal or by wind. Pollinating agents are animals such as insects, birds, bats, water, wind, and even plants themselves. When self-pollination occurs within a closed flower, pollinators are responsible not just for the production of crops but also increases in yield. There are several causes for the decline in the number of pollinators. Most of them are the result of an increase in human activities like land use change and fragmentation, changes in agricultural practices, including use of chemical pesticides, fungicides, and insecticides, change in the cropping pattern like monocropping, hence option 2 is correct. Cultivation of genetically modified organisms, GMOs, hence option 1 is correct. High environmental pollution from heavy metals and nitrogen, growth of invasive alien species. Minimal or zero tillage increases the pollinators because many of crop pollinators live underground for most of the year, sometimes at the base of the very plants they pollinate. To protect them, soils should be minimally tilled. Hence, option 3 is not correct. Now let's come to question number 18. So, question number 18. Consider the following statements regarding cross elasticity of demand. Number 1. It measures the relative change in the demand of a commodity due to a change in the price of a related commodity. Number 2. It is always positive for substitute goods. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So the answer is C. That is both 1 and 2. The cross elasticity of demand is an economic concept that measures the responsiveness in the quantity demanded of one good when the price for another good changes, also called cross price elasticity of demand. This measurement is calculated by taking the percentage change in the quantity demanded of one good and dividing it by the percentage change in the price of the other good. It is a measure of relative change in the quantity demanded of a commodity due to a change in the price of its substitute or complement. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The cross elasticity of demand for substitute goods is always positive because the demand for one good increases when the price of the substitute good increases. When goods are a substitute for each other, then cross elasticity of demand is positive. In other words, when an increase in the price of Y leads to an increase in the demand for X, for instance, with the increase in the price of tea, demand for coffee will increase as coffee substitutes tea. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Alternatively, the cross elasticity of demand for complementary goods is negative. In the case of complementary goods, cross elasticity of demand is negative. A proportionate increase in the price of one commodity leads to proportionate fall in the demand of another commodity because both are dependent jointly. For example, if the price of coffee increases, the quantity demanded for coffee sticks drops as consumers are drinking less coffee and lead to purchase fewer sticks. Cross elasticity is zero if a change in the price of one commodity will not affect the quantity demanded of the other. In the case of goods which are not related to each other, cross elasticity of demand is zero. Now let's come to question number 19. Consider the following statements with respect to the International Panel on Fissile Materials (IPFM). Number 1. It is an organ of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Number 2. Its mission is to reduce military and civilian stockpiles of fissile materials in the world. Number 3. Members from both nuclear and non-nuclear weapon states are included in the panel. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? So for 19, the answer is B. The answer is B, that is 2 and 3 only. The International Panel on Fissile Materials (IPFM) was founded in January 2006 and is an independent group of arms control and non-proliferation experts from both nuclear weapon and non-nuclear weapon states. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. The mission of the IPFM is to analyze the technical basis for practical and achievable policy initiatives to secure, consolidate, and reduce stockpiles. So, the mission of the IPFM is to analyze the technical basis for practical and achievable policy initiatives to secure, consolidate, and reduce stockpiles, military and civil, of highly enriched uranium and plutonium. These fissile materials are the key ingredients in nuclear weapons, and their control is critical to nuclear weapons disarmament, to halting the proliferation of nuclear weapons, and to ensuring that terrorists do not acquire nuclear weapons. Hence, statement 2 is correct. The members include nuclear experts from 17 countries: Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Iran, Japan, Mexico, Norway, Pakistan, South Korea, Russia, South Africa, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States. This group of countries included 7 nuclear weapon states and 10 non-weapon states. IPFM research and reports are shared with international organizations, national governments, and non-governmental groups. Hence, statement 3 is correct. So, statement 3 is also correct. Now, let's come to question number 20. Now let's come to question number 20. Which of the following are the benefits of internationalization of rupee? Number 1. Reduction in dependence on foreign exchange reserves for a balance of payment stability. Number 2. Lowers the domestic cost of capital. Number 3. Indian borrowers can borrow from international markets without exchange rate risk. So select the correct answer using the code given below. So the answer is D. That is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So currency internationalization is the widespread use of a currency outside the borders of its country of issue. The level of currency internationalization for a currency is determined by the demand other countries have for that currency. Such currencies will also tend to be held as reserve currencies. Internationalization of rupee will facilitate a greater degree of integration of the Indian economy with the rest of the world in terms of foreign trade and international capital flows. There are a number of benefits to a country whose currency is internationalized. It provides more certainly it provides more certainty to residents who can denominate foreign transactions in their home currency. They can also borrow in foreign markets without incurring exchange rate risk, potentially enabling them to find cheaper fund. Potentially enabling them to find cheaper funding. Other key benefits of internationalization of rupee include savings on foreign exchange transactions for Indian residents, reduced foreign exchange exposure for Indian corporate, reduction in dependence on foreign exchange reserves for the balance of payment stability. In general, the internationalization of rupee creates an underpinned demand for the currency which should dampen interest rates and thus help lower the domestic cost of capital. Hence, all the statements are correct. Now let's come to question number 21. Which of the following demands was or were made by the Muslim League under its Delhi proposals? Number 1. Separate electorates with reserved seats for Muslims. Number 2. One-third presentation to Muslims in Central Legislative Assembly. Number 3. Formation of new Muslim majority provinces by bifurcating Punjab and Bengal. Select the correct answer using the code given below. The answer is C. That is 2 only. So earlier in December 1927, a large number of Muslim leaders had met at Delhi at the Muslim League session and evolved 4 proposals for their demands to be incorporated into the draft constitution. Nehru Report. These proposals, which were accepted by the Madras session of the Congress in December 1927, came to be known as the Delhi Proposals. These were: number 1, joint electorates in place of separate electorates with reserved seats for Muslim. Hence, statement 1 is not correct. Number 2, one-third presentation to Muslim in Central Legislative Assembly. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Statement number 3, representation to Muslims in Punjab and Bengal in proportion to their population. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Number 4, formation of 3 new Muslim majority provinces, that is Sindh, Baluchistan and Northwest Frontier provinces. Now let's come to question number 22. Which of the following statements in the context of philosophies of ancient India is correct? Number A, Lokayata philosophy was propounded by Makhali Gosala. Number B, Ajitha Kesakambalin is a teacher belonging to Ajivika tradition. Number C, Ajivikas are fatalist, while followers of Lokayata are materialist. Number D, none of the statements A, B and C are correct. So for question number 22, the answer is C. That is, Ajivikas are fatalist, while followers of Lokayata are materialist. There are 2 major classifications of Indian Hindu philosophy. Number 1, Orthodox Astika philosophy, which include Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa and Vedanta. Then the next type of major, Indian Hindu philosophy would be heterodox, that is Nastika philosophy, like Jain, Buddhist, Ajivika, Ajnana and Charvaka. The orthodox schools recognize the authority of Vedas. The Nastika, that is the heterodox schools, don't draw upon the Vedas as the sole primary authoritative text but may emphasize other traditions of thought. The main Nastika schools are Charvaka, pronounced Charvaka, okay, it's called Charvaka, meaning sweet talkers, and Ajivika. Charvaka school. It was originally called as Lokayata, prevalent in the world, or Brahaspatsya. With this school can be called one of the oldest school of Indian materialism. They are hence called materialist. It rejects Vedas, rejects ritualism of Vedas and does not believe in God or any other supernatural power. Ajita Kasakambali. So Ajita Kasakambali is thought to be the first Charvaka, while Brihaspati is called its founder. Most of its literature is now lost and it is not a living tradition today. They believe in no soul, no consciousness, no God. Karma and artha only. Dharma and moksha concepts are beyond Charvaka philosophy. Now let's come to Ajivika school. They have often been described as fatalist, those who believe that everything is predetermined. Hence, option C is the correct answer. It is a religious order or sect founded by Goshala Mankaliputta, a senior contemporary of Buddha and Mahavira. The basic theme of Ajivikism is the doctrine of niyati or destiny or doctrine of immutability. The main source of information on Ajivikism is Bhagavati Sutra. Now let's come to question number 23. Now let's come to question number 23. It is an encrypted online content that is not indexed by conventional search engines. It requires specific software to access. It is sometimes used as online marketplaces for drugs, exchanges of stolen data, and other illegal activities. Which of the following terms best applies to the above scenario? Number A, deep web. Number B, virtual private network. Number C, blockchain. Number D, dark web. So the answer is dark web. Number D, dark web. The dark web refers to encrypted online content that is not indexed by conventional search engines. Sometimes the dark web is also called the dark net. The dark web is a component of the deep web that describes the wider breadth of content that does not appear through regular internet browsing activities. Specific softwares such as Tor browser are required to reach the dark web. Using the dark web often provides considerably more privacy than just using Tor to access the web. Many dark web sites simply provide standard web services with more secrecy, which benefits political dissidents and people trying to keep medical conditions private. Unfortunately, online marketplaces for drugs, exchanges for stolen data, and other illegal activities get most of the attention. The dark web is a subset of the deep web that is intentionally hidden, requiring a specific software to access. The dark web is a layer deeper and technically part of the deep web, which makes it inaccessible unless you know exactly where to go, but focused on illegal activities and services. The term deep web and dark web are sometimes used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Deep web refers to anything on the internet that is not indexed by but can be accessible via a search engine like Google. This means that in order to access one of these pages, one needs to either know their exact address, that is link, or to click on another link once you get in the deep side of the web. Also, the deep web can include significant parts of the legitimate mainstream web like Netflix or Amazon pages, simply because they are personalized for users and not all URLs are meant to be indexed. So, a virtual private network or VPN. It is an encrypted connection over the internet from a device to a network. It enables users to send and receive data across shared or public networks as if their computing devices were directly connected to the private network. A blockchain is a growing list of records called blocks that are linked using cryptography. It is managed by a cluster of computers not owned by any single entity. Each of these blocks of data, that is block, is secured and bound to each other using cryptographic principles. Now let's come to the next question, that is question number 24. Consider the following pairs: places in the news and countries. Which of the pairs given above is or are correctly matched? So for question number 24, it would be C. Okay, first of all, let's name the places in the news. Jehedan, countries, Iraq. 2. Hambantota, Bangladesh. Number 3. Hulhodho, Medho, Maldives. So the correct answer is number C. That is 3 only. That is Hulhudho Midho in Maldives. Okay, Jiheden or Jahedan, capital of Sistan and Baluchistan province, Iran. So Jahedan is in Iran, not in Iraq. So Jahedan is the city and capital of Sistan and Baluchistan province in Iran. The Iranian seaport of Chabahar has proved crucial for India as it provides sea-land connectivity to Afghanistan by passing the land route through Pakistan. Jahedan in Iran is located near the Afghan border, and the Chabahar Jahedan rail route could further help smooth movement of Indian goods to Afghanistan. Recently, India has expressed its intention to continue working on the Chabahar Jahedan railway line in the West Asian country. Hence, pair 1 is not correctly matched. Hambantota is the main town in Hambantota district, southern province, Sri Lanka. So for Hambantota, it should be Sri Lanka and not Bangladesh. Sri Lanka has leased the southern port of Hambantota to a Chinese venture. Recently, the Sri Lankan government has expressed its intention to use this step taken by the previous regime. China's infrastructure building in Sri Lanka became part of Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative, prompting concern in India. Hence, pair 2 is not correctly matched. We have Hulhudu Medho. So, Hulhudu Medho is an island located on the northeastern point of Adu city in Maldives. So it's in Maldives. Recently, a memorandum of understanding, that is MOU, was signed between governments of India and Maldives for the development of fish processing plants in Maradhu and Hulhudu of Adu Atoll. Hence, pair 3 is correctly matched. Now let's come to question number 25. Recently, Niti Aayog presented India's second voluntary national review. India's second voluntary national review V&R at the High Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, with reference to the High Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. HLPF, consider the following statements. Statement 1 would be, it is the main platform which reviews the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Number 2, it meets under the auspices of the UN Economic and Social Council ECOSOC annually. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? For 25, it would be C, that is both 1 and 2 are correct. Recently, Niti Aayog presented India's second voluntary national review V&R at the United Nations High Level Political Forum HLPF on Sustainable Development 2020. Statement 1 is correct. The High Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development HLPF is the main UN platform on sustainable development. It has a central role in the follow-up and review of implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable. In 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. 193 member countries, including India, got committed to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that require efforts to end all forms of poverty, fight inequalities, and tackle climate change while ensuring that no one was left behind. Statement 2 is correct. The HLPF meets annually on July for 8 days under the auspices of the Economic and Social Council ECO SOC of the UN. The VNRs presented by member states at the HLPF are a critical component of the review of progress and implementation of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. The reviews are voluntary and state led and are aimed at facilitating the sharing of experiences, including successes, challenges, and lessons learned. Niti Aayog prepared and presented India's first V&R in 2017. So that's all, guys. See you in my next video. Bye.